Hey there. Today, we're diving deep into something I think you're going to find super interesting. It's something we've been hearing a lot about lately, this whole idea of a cultural shift, moving away from woke culture
Yeah.
towards something that feels a bit more libertarian.
Right.
You sent us this excerpt from an article. It's called From Woke to the Right, Keeping an Open Mind in a Changing World. I am so ready to unpack this with you.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot to unpack here. And I think what makes it even more fascinating is that it really seems to be resonating with younger generations. Like we're at this crossroads
Totally.
ideas.
Yeah, and the article, it really doesn't shy away from the complexity of it all.
No, it doesn't.
It starts by taking us back to the 1960s. And specifically, there's this young woman, Lorraine, attending an anti-war protest
Yeah.
in Berkeley.
Okay.
You can almost feel the energy and idealism of that era.
For sure. It's a brilliant way to set the stage, I think, because it really highlights the victories of that era. Things like the Civil Rights Act, the rise of second-wave feminism, the whole counterculture movement. These were monumental in shaping how we think about freedom and rights, even today.
Absolutely.
And here's where the narrative takes a turn. The article reminds us that progress, well, it isn't always linear.
It's like a pendulum swing almost.
Yeah.
You have these victories, and then right after that you have figures like Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, coming to power in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
And their whole emphasis on smaller government, free markets, that really planted some early seeds for the libertarian thinking we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Gaining traction now.
It's like history is echoing,
Yeah.
but with a modern twist. And speaking of modern, let's fast forward to the early 2000s.
Okay.
Millennials are coming of age in a world that's shaped by 9/11 and the rise of social media.
Totally. And they're using those platforms to champion causes like environmental justice, LGBTQ plus rights, bringing these issues of privilege and inequality to the forefront. And this is what many started calling woke culture, right?
Right. But even that term has become pretty loaded.
It really has.
It's a term that needs a bit of unpacking itself.
Yeah.
So woke culture, in its essence, refers to a heightened awareness of social justice issues.
Okay.
Things like systemic racism, gender inequality, environmental concerns. It's about being alert to these issues and advocating for change.
So it's like this heightened sense of empathy and responsibility for...
Exactly. Those who are marginalized or facing injustice.
I like that.
But, as the article points out, the term woke has become increasingly divisive.
For sure.
For some, it represents genuine progress, a push for a more equitable society.
Yeah.
But for others, it's become associated with excessive moralizing, censorship, and even a threat to free speech.
It's so interesting how one word can become so loaded, right?
Absolutely.
But while all of this is happening, this rise of what we call woke culture and the debates surrounding it, the world's also going through some major economic anxiety.
You're absolutely right. The article brings up Occupy Wall Street as a prime example. This was a global movement fueled by growing distrust of big institutions, both governmental and financial. People were frustrated with economic inequality, this feeling that the system wasn't working for them.
Right. And that distrust, as the article suggests, created fertile ground for a resurgence of libertarian ideas. It's like people started looking for alternatives, questioning the role of government, wondering if less intervention might actually lead to more freedom and prosperity.
It's the age-old debate between individual liberty and collective responsibility, but playing out in a whole new context. And this is where the article introduces figures like Javier Milei in Argentina.
Right, Milei, a great example.
Yeah.
It's a resurgence of libertarian thinking, especially among younger generations. He's advocating for free markets, limited government, individual responsibility, and he's gaining a lot of traction.
He is. And to understand why these ideas are resonating, I think it's crucial to understand libertarianism at its core.
Okay.
So libertarianism is a political philosophy that champions individual liberty as the highest value. It advocates for minimal government intervention in both the economy and people's lives, believing that individuals should be free to make their own choices without undue interference.
So it's less about every man for himself.
Right.
And more about let individuals decide what's best for them. And trust that the free market will sort things out.
Exactly. And it's this emphasis on personal freedom.
Right.
And autonomy that seems to be particularly appealing to younger generations who are disillusioned with traditional systems. and looking for new solutions.
Right, we're looking at the world and saying, hey, maybe there's a different way to do things. Maybe less control from the top down could actually lead to more innovation and progress.
Exactly.
But it's not just about economics, right?
You hit the nail on the head. It's also about how different generations view authority and social responsibility.
Okay, let's get into that.
Let's do it. The article does a great job of breaking this down, starting with baby boomers. They're the generation that lived through the 60s, witnessed those social movements firsthand, and fought for change.
Right.
But now they're at a different stage in life, often prioritizing economic stability and perhaps feeling a bit wary of
radical shifts.
But they've seen it all, fought the good fight, and now they're looking for a bit more peace and predictability.
Exactly. And then you have Gen X, the generation that came of age during the Cold War, saw the fall of the Berlin Wall.
And witnessed their fair share of corporate scandals.
Right.
They tend to be more cynical, distrustful of both big government and big business.
Yeah. They're like, we've seen how the system works, and we're not buying it.
It's a healthy skepticism, for sure.
Yeah.
And then we come to millennials, a generation burdened by student loan debt, entering adulthood during a recession, and facing a rapidly changing job market, what they initially embraced. Many aspects of woke culture, they're now starting to question the effectiveness of government solutions and wondering if there might be more efficient, market-based approaches.
So it's like they're saying, we care about social justice, but we also want to see tangible results. And if the government isn't delivering, maybe there are other ways to achieve those goals.
It's a pragmatic approach, born out of their lived experiences.
For sure.
And then there's Gen Z, the true digital natives, growing up with climate change and social unrest as their reality. They're even more skeptical of traditional institutions and political divides. They're looking for solutions that transcend those old categories.
It's like they're saying we need bold, innovative solutions, not just the same old partisan bickering.
It's a call for authenticity and action, and it's incredibly exciting to witness. And then, of course, we have Gen Alpha, the youngest generation, still forming their worldviews. We're growing up in a world where technology is completely integrated into their lives, where global interconnectedness is a given. How will that shape their relationship with authority? How will they approach these big questions of individual freedom and collective responsibility?
It's like we're watching a whole new chapter unfold right before our eyes.
We are.
But amidst all of this, amidst these generational shifts and evolving ideologies, the article reminds us that it's not just about abstract ideas. It's about how individuals experience these changes.
It's about how these shifts resonate on a personal level.
Right.
For some, the libertarian emphasis on individual freedom is incredibly appealing.
Yeah.
It offers a sense of autonomy, control over their lives, the ability to pursue their own goals without being weighed down by bureaucracy or red tape.
It's like that feeling of, I'm in charge of my destiny, and I don't need the government telling me what to do.
Exactly. But for others, the idea of shrinking the government is worrisome. They rely on social safety nets for healthcare, education, and other essential services.
Right.
They worry that a more hands-off approach could leave the most vulnerable behind. That's a legitimate concern, especially in a world where economic inequality is already a major issue. It's like they're saying, we need a system that protects those who need it most. And we're not sure a purely market-driven approach can do that.
It's a tension that runs throughout this whole discussion, balancing individual freedom with the need for collective action and social responsibility.
For sure.
And then there's the question of cultural identity. Some people worry that less government intervention in social issues could lead to greater division, potentially exacerbating existing inequalities.
So it's like they're saying, we need the government to act as a safeguard against discrimination and to promote equality.
While others believe that a more decentralized, community-driven approach could actually foster greater understanding and tolerance.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, let communities come together and find their own solutions, rather than relying on a top-down approach.
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
With valid arguments on multiple sides, and the article emphasizes that there's no single right answer.
Yeah, it's about recognizing the complexity, acknowledging the different perspectives, and engaging in thoughtful dialogue.
Yeah, it's about resisting the urge to oversimplify, to demonize those who hold different views, or to shut down conversations before they even begin. It's about embracing the messiness of it all.
Precisely. And remembering that these shifts in political and social thought are constant throughout history.
Right.
What seems like an unstoppable revolution one decade might be completely overshadowed by a different movement in the next.
So what's the takeaway here? How do we navigate these shifting tides?
The article offers some valuable advice.
Okay.
Stay curious, question your assumptions, and be open to new solutions. It's about recognizing what you value, acknowledging your fears, and being willing to engage with ideas that challenge your preconceived notions.
I like that.
And it's about remembering that we're living through history, not just observing it from a distance.
Right. It's like we're all characters in this unfolding story, each with our own roles to play. And the script is still being written. It's pretty exciting, don't you think?
It's incredibly exciting. And it brings us back to the central message of the article, the importance of keeping an open mind.
Yeah.
It's not just a passive stance. It's an active choice we make every single day.
Right.
It's about being receptive to new information, even if it challenges our existing beliefs. It's about engaging in thoughtful dialogue with those who hold different views. And perhaps most importantly, it's about recognizing that we're all on this journey together.
We may have different perspectives, different values, different experiences, but we're all striving to create a better future for ourselves and for generations to come.
And that shared aspiration, that desire for a better future, is something we can all connect with, regardless of our political leanings or ideological differences.
It's like a common thread that weaves through all of this, reminding us that we're not as divided as we might sometimes feel.
Exactly.
And it's that interconnectedness that becomes even more important. As we face the challenges of the 21st century,
it's about recognizing that we need each other, that we can learn from each other, and that we can achieve more together than we ever could alone.
Totally.
And this brings us to Gen Z and Gen Alpha.
Okay.
They're coming of age at a time when the lines between traditional ideologies are becoming increasingly blurred, when technology is reshaping every aspect of our lives, and when global interconnectedness is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. They're not bound by the same old categories or constrained by the same old ways of thinking.
It's like they're looking at the world with fresh eyes, unburdened by the baggage of the past.
Yeah.
And that's where things get really interesting.
It is.
Because they're blending progressive ideals with market-based approaches, seeking solutions that transcend traditional political divides.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo, to experiment, and to find new ways to address the challenges we face. They're looking for ways to promote social justice, while also championing individual liberty. They're passionate about environmental sustainability, while also embracing technological innovation. And they're doing all of this within a global context, recognizing that the solutions we find need to work for everyone, not just a select few.
Yeah, it's like they're creating a whole new playbook, and they're inviting us all to join them in writing it.
And it's an invitation we should all accept, because they just might have the insights and the creativity we need to navigate the uncharted waters of the 21st century.
It's like they're holding up a mirror, reflecting back to us not just our challenges, but also our potential. It really feels like we're living through a truly transformative moment in history.
It's like all these different threads, social movements, economic anxieties, technological advancements, generational shifts, are weaving together to create a whole new tapestry.
And we're right in the middle of it, trying to make sense of it all. It can feel a bit overwhelming at times.
Absolutely. But the article reminds us that amidst all the uncertainty and change, there's also a sense of hope.
Yes.
There's this incredible energy and potential, especially among younger generations, to create a better future.
Right. They're not just inheriting the world.
Yeah.
They're actively shaping it. And they're doing it in ways that we might not have even imagined just a few decades ago.
It's like they're saying, we're not going to be bound by the old rules or the old ways of thinking. We're going to create something new.
I love that.
And that's where technology comes in. It's not just a tool, it's a catalyst for change.
You mentioned earlier how technology is reshaping everything. What role do you see it playing in bridging this gap between individual freedom and collective action?
That's such a great question. The article doesn't delve into that specifically, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Imagine a world where technology empowers individuals to have more control over their lives, to access information freely, to connect with like-minded people, to create their own opportunities.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also enables us to collaborate on a global scale, to address collective challenges like climate change and poverty, to build more equitable and sustainable systems.
It's like technology could give us the best of both worlds, the freedom to be ourselves and pursue our own paths while also working together to create a world that works for everyone.
It's a possibility. That's within our reach. And it's Gen Z and Gen Alpha
Yeah.
who are leading the way. They're growing up with this deep understanding of technology. They're using it to connect, to create, to innovate. They're not afraid to experiment and to challenge the status quo.
Yeah, it's like they're showing us what's possible when we combine individual ingenuity with collective action.
It's a powerful combination, and it's one that gives me a lot of hope for the future. But as the article emphasizes, it all comes back to that open mind. It's about being willing to learn from each other, to challenge our own assumptions, to embrace new ideas, and to find common ground, even when we disagree.
Right, it's about recognizing that we're all part of this grand experiment called humanity, and we're all in this together. It's about choosing curiosity over fear, collaboration over division, and hope over despair.
Beautifully said. The future is uncertain, yes, but it's also full of possibilities. And by embracing an open mind, by fostering curiosity and compassion, we can navigate the unknown with courage and even a sense of excitement.
So to wrap things up, what's that one final thought you want to leave our listener with? Something to ponder as they continue to explore this fascinating topic.
I'd say this. Don't be afraid to challenge the easy answers, the simplistic narratives, the us versus them mentality. Embrace the complexity, lean into the nuance, and remember that progress is rarely a straight line. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and it often requires us to step outside of our comfort zones.
That's such a great reminder. It's about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, knowing that growth and change often come from those moments when we're willing to question everything we thought we knew.
Exactly. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that mind wide open. You never know what amazing discoveries you might make.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to surface from this deep dive.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an incredible journey, and we hope you found it as thought-provoking as we have.
It's always a pleasure to dive into these complex topics with you. Until next time.
And to our listener, we hope you've gained some valuable insights and perhaps even a renewed sense of optimism about the future. Remember, the world is full of possibilities, and you have the power to shape it. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep those conversations going. It's like we're at this point where everything's kind of coming together.
Right.
And it's exciting, but it's also, like you said, a little overwhelming.
A little bit.
But the article brings up this point about hope.
It does.
Especially for the younger generation.
Yes, especially for them.
They seem to be really driving a lot of this change.
They really are.
And it seems like technology is playing a huge role in all of this.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, it's reshaping the way we think about everything.
Absolutely.
So where do you see technology fitting into all of this? Specifically when it comes to that balance between individual freedom and collective action.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
The article doesn't give us a clear answer, but I think we can speculate a bit.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where technology gives people more control over their own lives, more access to information, the ability to connect with others who share their values, and the tools to create their own opportunities.
I like that.
But at the same time, we also use technology to work together on a global scale to tackle big problems like climate change or poverty, maybe even to create systems that are more equitable and sustainable.
It's almost like having your cake and eating it too.
Exactly, yeah.
Individual freedom and collective action all rolled into one.
And I think that's what makes Gen Z and Gen Alpha so fascinating. They seem to instinctively understand how to use technology in this way.
It's like they were born with a smartphone in their hand.
It's true.
They're not afraid to use it, to connect, to create, to make a difference.
And they're inspiring the rest of us to rethink what's possible.
I think that's a really important point because it's not just about the technology itself.
No.
It's about how we use it.
Exactly.
And I think the article does a great job of bringing us back to that idea of the open mind.
It does.
It's about being willing to learn from each other, even if we come from different backgrounds or have different viewpoints.
It's about being willing to challenge our own assumptions and to find common ground.
Even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard.
Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together, right?
Absolutely.
We're all part of this big human experiment.
And I think that's what gives me hope.
Me too.
That even though things seem uncertain, even chaotic at times, we have the ability to shape our own future.
Yeah.
And we can do that best by working together.
So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this whole conversation?
I'd say, don't be afraid to question everything.
Okay.
Don't settle for the easy answers or the simplistic narratives. Embrace the complexity, lean into the nuances, and remember, progress is rarely a straight line.
Yeah, it's messy, it's unpredictable, but that's what makes it so interesting.
Exactly.
And so worthwhile.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep your mind open.
I love that.
You never know what you might discover.
Well, on that note, it's time for us to surface from this deep dive.
It has been a journey.
It really has.
Thank you for joining us.
And to our listeners, thank you for being here with us today. We hope you found this conversation as stimulating as we have.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, keep exploring. Keep those conversations going. And remember, the world is full of possibilities.